Hello, hello. Oh, perfect. I think that thank you for the team. I think that they gave me the heads up that the mic wasn't on. Sorry about that. Hello, everybody. Again, happy Friday. You probably were just listening to me for the past few minutes without the mic. I apologize for that. This is all live, so we're all learning and a big shout out to the team on Teams chat because they gave me that heads up. I appreciate that, guys. Um, Anyway, I was talking about how thankful I am to be able to do this. In a different life, I was working for a bigger corporation, and I would have had to ask for permission to do things like this. So it is a huge blessing from God to be able to be here and to say hello to everybody, and to be able to share what we're very excited about and what we continue to learn through. Um, this week's stream in particular, we are going to be doing our first, what I'm calling a whiteboarding session. And in this whiteboarding session, I'm going to be sharing a quick concept about EOS and how I believe that Nibbio is very well positioned to be able to help EOS companies. In particular, and just as a quick update of this past week's work, we spent quite a bit of time helping a company that runs on EOS understand their operations and how we can help them implement technology to be able to bring what I'm calling kind of from the vision to the actual execution and the traction. If you guys are familiar with EOS, you understand what traction means. And if not, this is what part of this whiteboarding session will be today. So with that, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Perfect. And I'm going to be turning down the music. It might be a little loud for you guys here. Beautiful. All right, perfect. So now let me start with what is EOS, right? And I have a few resources over here on my right hand that I'll be copying and pasting into our whiteboard here. EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. And what it is that it simplifies, it is a practice or a set of guidelines to be able to simplify running a small to medium-sized business. And I'm going to copy and paste here also some bullet points over here. It provides practical tools and frameworks that any business owner can understand and use. Again, this is very much condensed version of what a fancy MBA would be, but it's extremely practical and easy to use for business owners. It does target that SMB segment, which we are now trying to start up, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, who want to get more organized, grow faster, and reduce that day-to-day chaos. If anybody here listening runs their own business or has a side gig or a side job, or even within their jobs, you know that it's difficult to see the forest through the trees sometimes, and EOS really allows you to take a step back and understand the bigger picture. It's received quite a bit of adoption lately because it works. It delivers tangible results. They allow companies to report better profits, clearer communication, and be more effective in terms of problem solving after the implementation. Now, and this is something that Andrew and I were talking about not too long ago, a couple of days ago. But really, before EOS, usually companies are a bit of chaotic. It's most companies don't necessarily have figured out their vision, their mission, their values, their 5-year, 10-year, even quarterly targets. It's more of being able to tread water and survive. But EOS really thrives on being able to go from kind of that chaos level over here. EOS brings you down to at least high level clarity, right? So by high level, I mean those big ideas, the big matters of what the company is about, answering why and what direction we're going to go to. Usually the way that this works, there's this concept of a self-implementation where There's a book called Traction that contains all the concepts, and you can self-implement the EOS within your organization. But most of the time, in terms of accountability and being able to really implement it, because they have some additional training, there's this whole concept of implementers. In fact, for us, we are working with a company called The Profit Recipe, and in particular, Jennifer, who's our implementer, has helped us a ton. Andrew and I have the role of the visionary. Andrew has the role of the integrator. We've been doing sessions with her over the past several quarters. We are on our way to do our next quarterly session tomorrow. But again, you go from chaos to this high level clarity, and in the process, you're able to come up with a tool set, right? Which is the VTO. It stands for the Vision Traction Organizer. You have your accountability chart. Over here in the middle. And you also get what's called a weekly scorecard. I would say these are most relevant to our conversation today. But of course, there's a whole tool set. And I would totally recommend, if you guys have not learned about this in the past, there's a ton of resources out there, starting with the Traction book, and also EOS website has a ton of really great resources as well that I would recommend. Now, these 3 tool sets, again, is the output of all these sessions that companies that run on EOS go through. And this is where I want to highlight that the high level business work is done by EOS and by the leadership team. And especially the companies that have already gone through EOS and are starting to see some traction in their business, but still haven't necessarily spread that whole traction through their whole organization, are very well positioned to be able to receive help from us at Nibbio. Now, what I like to think about is, or the way that I conceptualize this is, Nibbio becomes that bridge. And I'm gonna put a little emoji here. Nibbio is that bridge that takes you from that high level clarity down to low level. And let me bring over our logo here very quickly so you guys can check it out. So Nibbio becomes that bridge from the high level clarity to what I call kind of low level operational excellence. That sounds fancy, a little corporate. We're not about that, but I'll dig a little deeper, right? So for example, the VTO, the accountability chart, and the weekly scorecard. Starting with the VTO, in the VTO, you'll be able to find your core focus, your core target, your values, your 5-year or 10-year, depending on the way that you implement it, targets, your 1-year plan, your quarterly goals, your quarterly rocks is what they call them on EOS, and long-term issues list. Again, we stay at a very high level, and whenever you're implementing with an implementer, a certified implementer with EOS, you meet in a quarterly by quarterly basis usually. So imagine you get 8 hours of meetings once every 3 months. So there's just so much that EOS can do in terms of actually making this a reality. Usually you have that high level clarity in that meeting, and then you actually have to go back with your team and execute. And that's where we help. We help on bringing this high level clarity down to the actual execution. And the way that we see this happening, and again, based on our experience with doing this for several years now at high level Fortune 150 organizations, is low level operational excellence usually requires people, it requires process, and it requires, of course, technology. Technology, here we go. Perfect. So going from that, and I'll talk about each of these different pillars here in terms of the people, the process, and the technology in just a second. And I would even dare to say that each of the tool sets or the tools from EOS are very much related to each of them. Now, we started with a VTO, high level clarity in terms of goals and values and the reason for being, and longer term goals, as well as, I guess, the shortest term would be quarterly objectives. The accountability chart has very much to do with this people segment. Accountability chart understands if you have the right people in the right seat, right? And that means that everybody is in the organization is fired whenever you come up with this accountability chart, and you tailor your organization and the people in particular towards the needs to be able to achieve those longer term goals. And the people in there have to get it, they have to want it, and have the capacity to do it. This exercise was super helpful as well for us. And I know that I've spoken to other companies that run on EOS, and it was crucial because it's very much the people aspect of the people, process, and technology for operational excellence. You understand what each person, who they report to, number one. Number two, what they do. And number three, whether they are a cultural fit to your organization or not. And again, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but the accountability chart in particular deals directly with the people. And we will see in just a second how you can use the accountability chart to see if you can implement process and technology to be able to gain that operational excellence and ultimately that traction. And lastly, the last tool that we find is super important and high quality for us is that weekly scorecard. The weekly scorecard is kind of like the heartbeat of your organization. What are 3 to 5, maybe even 10, I believe, set of metrics that you need to understand in order to get a grip on the business and see if the business is actually operating at a high level on a week basis. That weekly scorecard also gives management the ability to understand if things are going well or if they're not. And usually the way that it works is that the weekly scorecard is that short-term heartbeat. Then the quarterly rocks are kind of longer-term, higher objectives, which they snowball into your annual goals and ultimately your 5 to 10 year goal. It is theorized, I guess, that if you have the right weekly scorecard and you're meeting your goals week by week, you're going to meet your quarterly goals. And if you meet your quarterly goals, you're going to meet your annual goals, and annual goals will turn into 5 and 10 year goals. And this is super important. Again, the weekly scorecard for us has also been super important. We are in a period of transition as nibbio, and that has continuously evolved. But it is a great tool to be able to do so. Now, again, these 3 tool sets, what we have done, for example, here at nibbio and over the past week is we understand these 3 tools. We receive them from our end customer. And in this past 2-week sprint, we've been able to extract, with the help of AI, actually, large language models, Claude, GPT, etc. Fill in the blank, there's a ton of products there now. We've been able to gain a ton of understanding for our customers' business much faster than ever before. Before, we would have had to do probably a longer term and higher intensity type of discovery process. But now with this tool set, again, you have the high level clarity. Now we actually need to bring it down to a low level operational excellence. And for that, we have in our sprint a series of sessions to understand their current state of their process, number one. One session in particular is purely dedicated to technology. What does your technology stack look like? What are the integration points and the data flows between those technology systems? And lastly, we also understand your accountability chart. Now, you may be asking yourself, okay, maybe I run on EOS, I'm receiving some traction, but I know that there could be something better in this case. How do I go about doing this, right? How do I know if my particular situation fits well for nibbio to help? And I would say there's a couple of tells that we have identified. And again, this is very much built in public. This is likely going to be evolving. But for example, the accountability chart, and I want to highlight two today in particular, right? So number one, the accountability chart, usually you have in your accountability chart diagram, you have at the top, you have your visionary. And again, just to recap, this is one of the tells. I would say that you are probably need some help with process and technology to be able to free your high performers to be able to continue executing better and your company to continue to grow. You have your visionary, you have your integrator, and then you have your head of sales and marketing, usually, right? And this changes company to company, but this is very much the usual understanding of an accountability chart. Somebody that leads sales and marketing, which is finding and acquiring customers, somebody that leads operations, and somebody that leads finance and accounting. Now, there's usually a couple of supportive functions as well. You can think of HR as a supporting function, and then IT also sometimes that reaches that high level. And then there are the teams underneath them, right? And I'm not going to go position by position, but you can imagine it's a series of team members that belong underneath this leadership team. You have ops, you have sales and marketing team, etc. And of course, you can understand what's happening here. Now, something that usually happens, especially in the early stages of implementing EOS, or companies that have never implemented EOS before, you'll start noticing that your leadership team, which is that top level of the organization, usually in larger companies, they call this the executive team, they're sitting in multiple seats, right? So that in EOS parlance means you have right people, right seat issues, where instead of one person sitting on a single level with a single set of responsibilities and being able to LMA, which is lead, manage, and keep accountable, you have people sitting in multiple seats, right? So you could have John Doe over here at this level, but John Doe also has to sit down here at this level because there's either not enough hands, there's people that don't know how to do the work, or there's antiquated technology to be able to do the work. And this is a huge red flag, right? And again, we're gonna go for the emojis here. That red flag emoji is big because that means that they're not able to focus on what brings the most value to the business. So if John Doe, who's in sales and marketing, is not thinking about marketing strategy and how to continue to help the company achieve their quarterly, annual, and 5 to 10 year goal, John Doe is probably sending cold emails, right, in sales and marketing. And that probably should not be the case. That's when technology can come into play and automate that level. And there's a ton of technology nowadays to be able to help in a bunch of different tasks. But this is huge, right? And being able to understand if you have in your organization, your executive team doing low level work, that's a red flag that we would love to help you out fix. Another red flag, and this happened to us this week, I'm not going to go into any details, but what I would consider Excel-driven operations, right? Where most of the operations are happening on Excel or Google Sheet spreadsheets. It's simply just not scalable. If your goal is to grow 5x, 10x, 15x, 500x in 10 years or 5 years, an Excel spreadsheet is just not going to cut it. And this has been um, the headache for the software sector for many decades. Usually CRMs and most software as a service companies are not really competing against direct competitor. Salesforce is not really competing against HubSpot, but most of the competition is against spreadsheets. And that's also a huge red flag that we would love to come in and help you. Those spreadsheets could likely turn into either custom software, out-of-the-box software, or different solutions, hybrid solutions. We implement RPA. We're now doing AI agents, again, custom web applications, out-of-the-box integrations between two existing large core systems. Fill in the blank, right? There's just a world out there that could actually help you scale your operations. So I want to end with this. If your company or the company you work for has at least these two red flags, and I won't go into further red flags for now. I will be discussing with the team and continuing to find these red flags. We would love to talk to you, right? We usually charge quite a big ticket for our discovery process, especially when we were doing it at that Fortune 150 level as well. But we want to do business with especially EOS run or companies that run on EOS, because we do believe that they're the best positioned companies for us to come in and help them. You've already done the heavy lifting of figuring out the direction of the boat. Now let us help you row that boat towards that direction. Bring it down from that high level, again, going back to this diagram, high level clarity to low level operational excellence. In particular, process, people, and technology, part of our discovery sprint is exactly doing this. I will be sharing in the description a link to our landing page for EOS. In there, if you are interested, we would love to get in contact, a quick 15 to 30 minute session to see if we can help you. Again, gain that traction and bring it down from the Olympus and the high level, brilliant work that you've already done for EOS down to that low level operational excellence. So yeah, with that, we'd love to finish this stream. Thank you all for joining again. This has been great. We're continuing to work hard in our product as well. And we also have a lot of updates for that later on. This week, I just wanted to tease this out. EOS is going to become very important in our messaging as well as a company. And we're continuing to have great conversations with companies that run on EOS. So we'd love to hear from you if you are one of those companies. But with that, I wish you guys a very, very happy weekend, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.